Good day, dear students. Herewith we are going to have another lecture for the paper Asian Literature. Now we shall start with the poem The Song by Balakrishna Sama. Balakrishna Sama is one of the representative poets of Nepali literature. He was born in February 1903 and being born in a rich aristocratic family, he received a very good education and he did a collegiate at Sri Chandra College. His father, as a army man, wanted Balakrishna Sama also to join army. So he had to quit his collegiate education and he joined army. And he raised to the rank of lieutenant colonel. Balakrishna Sama is one of the writers who changed the face of Nepali literature. Before Balakrishna Sama, Nepali literature was predominantly written in Sanskrit tradition. For example, the genres were highly Sanskrit. Two Nepalese writers like Balakrishna Sama and his friend Lakshmi Prasad Devkota, they gave a kind of fusion style to Nepali literature. They mixed Western style with that of Sanskrit. That is, they tried out short stories, tragic dramas, and prose poetry in Nepali literature. Sama became one of the important phases, or he was hailed as the Nepalese Shakespeare. Balakrishna Sama adapted the name Sama, which means unequal, as a revolt against the aristocratic family, which differentiated the common man with that of the rich. He wanted to be one among the common man, so he named himself Sama. Some of his best works are Agora Pani, Chiso Chulo, which are the long epic Nepali style reflecting poems. Bhatar, Mukandra Indra, and Mukuto Bhaita are some of the best dramas which map Nepalese literature in the world literature. And Balakrishna Sama usually takes social issues, philosophy, religion, and the political turmoils of Nepal for his writing. Before moving to the poem, I want to have a brief introduction about Lord Krishna. I hope you all need no much introduction for Lord Krishna, but still we should uh, have a bit of introduction about him. Lord Krishna is the eighth avatar of Lord Vishnu. He was the eighth son of Devaki, and sticking to the prophetic words, his uncle Kanishk or Kamsa kills all the children born to the couple. Being born as the eighth child to Devaki, he was smuggled out of the prison and was left at Vrindavan to the care of Nanda and Yashoda. There he was brought up. And when he was a child, his foster parents, uh, find the unusual greatness or powers of the baby, and he becomes the hero of Vrindavan. Later, he evolves. He grows up into the Lord Krishna. Before moving to that poem, we should know a little thing about the greatness of Krishna's flute. Krishna's flute was actually called as Basuri or Murali. Murali is the name given to the flute of Krishna. Actually, Krishna was gifted with this instrument by Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva gave the music lessons to Lord Krishna. One of the important questions that lingers my mind was why flute? Why not other instrument? This flute has a highly symbolic interpretation. The symbolic interpretation is once the flute was asked by the Gopikas. The Gopikas were very jealous of this flute. They were very jealous because this flute was always with Krishna. Krishna used to sleep with this flute, always left the house with this flute. He never parted himself with the flute. So once these Gopikas asked, "Oh, sacred flute, you were so lucky that Lord Krishna always has you by himself. What did you do? What was the penance that you do?" Right? So that Lord Krishna is always having you with him, and he kisses you all the time. Whenever he kisses you, you mesmerize the entire world. So, what was the reason? How did you become his favorite? So the bamboo answered, I am empty inside. I have completely surrendered myself to the Lord, and God and my Lord does whatever He wants, and I become the instrument in the hands of my Lord. So this flute is a symbol of that cutting off from the bondages, getting ourselves empty of these worldly things so that we can surrender ourselves to God. If we surrender ourselves to God, if we empty ourselves within of whatever is with us, we will not be with the God. God will be with us. So this is what is symbolized through flute. The other instruments are not like so. Another important symbolic interpretation, another important value of this flute is the flute got that greatness to be in the hands of Krishna, to be with Krishna all the time, because as it sprouted out, as the bamboo sprouted out, it faces hard rain, the harsh sun, and all the harshness of climate. And when it grew up, it was chopped, it was cut off from its roots. It was bored. It was bored with 7 holes. The bamboo has to undergo a severe, painful uh, uh, molding process, right? It will be bored 7 times with the holes, right? After such a painful painful uh, after such a painful penance, that bamboo becomes an instrument. Bamboo becomes a pipe through which the wind could blow and come out into good musical notes, right? When we empty ourselves, when we humiliate ourselves, when we make ourselves so simple, when we undergo such a painful penance, we shall become a tool, an instrument in the hands of God. And then after, we shall not be with the God, God shall be with us. We will be in the hands of God. Such is the symbolic interpretation of this flute. Before moving into that poem, I want you to have a small look. I want you to listen to the mesmerizing music of Lord Krishna. Let's move to the poem, the song. Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute in the town of Mathura, in every house, in every room, in every fold of the heart. The air began to tremble in concord with the flute. Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute. The grasses fell down from the chewing mouth of the cow. Fishes came out of water. The peacocks were lost in meditation, so they dropped down their feathers on the Lord, and the cuckoos and the nightingales, tearing off their breasts with their own nails, fell down on the branches of the trees in concord with the flute. Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute. Milkmaids began to weep bitterly in happiness. Sometimes, like the golden images, they remained motionless. The river of adoration was profusely flowing, and the Krishna began to smile. The whole universe dozed in ecstasy. Heaven and earth kissed each other. The eyelashes of the milkmaid began to be entangled in concord with the flute. Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute. The song. Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute in the town of Mathura. Krishna played on the music, played on the music, the flute. See, the music of the flute is described in terms of charmingly juicy flute. Charmingly is a kind of adjective which we used to a visual object. She looks charming, a visual object. And juicy is a kind of adjective which is used to represent the taste, right? So visual and taste. These two senses have been unified to explain the auditory sound. Auditory flute music is being described in terms of taste and beauty, in terms of concrete beauty. See, Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute, meaning to say it was so beautiful and it was so tasty that people just forget themselves, right? See, flute, auditory thing is being described or glorified or explained in terms of visual and tasty terms. In the town of Mathura. Mathura is the place where Krishna was born. In every house, in every room, in every fold of the heart. See, he played not in a particular place, not just in Mathura, but in every house. Not just in every house, in every room. Not just in every room, but in every heart. See, Mathura. Mathura is the name of a city. So, Krishna does not play his flute only in Mathura, the city, but in every house in Mathura, in every room in that house in Mathura, in every man or every human being in that house, and in the every heart of the humans, in the heart of every humans. Krishna played on that charmingly juicy flute in the heart of every human. The air began to tremble in concord with the flute. See, the air began to tremble. See, the air passes through an empty bamboo in an empty flute and comes out with a beautiful musical note, with a beautiful mesmerizing sound. See, the air begins to tremble. Tremble is to fluctuate. Is the tremble is to move in different force. See, the air began to tremble in concord. Concord is uh, uh, with a melody, with a kind of a symphony, with a kind of a perfect blend with a flute, right? In concord, in a matching tune, in a proper matching flow, the air started to tremble along with the flute. Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute. This line, Krishna played on charmingly juicy flute, is going to be a kind of line which will be repeated often throughout this poem, which we usually call as refrain. Refrain is a line which often gets repeated in a poem. See, the grasses fell down from the chewing mouth of the cow. See, on listening to the mesmerizing music of the flute of Krishna, the chewing, the cows which are chewing the grass, they are uh, uh, they are uh, they are drop jawed. They are just opening their mouth and their grass in their mouth is falling down. They are jaw dropping. The music of that flute was jaw dropping. It was so mesmerizing that the cows stopped chewing their food. The cows stopped ruminating their food, and they just forget themselves in that music. The grass fell down from the mouth, the chewing mouth of the cow. The cow was chewing, and it was so mesmerizing that it starts chewing, and it is jaw dropping. The cow is opening its mouth, and the grasses falling down from its mouth, and the cow is not at all caring. The fishes come out of water. What happens if the fish come out of water? It will die. But the fish is not at all considering it. See, the fish in that excitement, the fish in that hypnotic state of that flute music is coming out of water without uh, without uh, without a kind of concentration that it will die when it comes out of water. It is not caring about its life. It is so mesmerized that it has forgotten that it is going to die. It is about to die. Even the fish forgets its death. The fish forgets its death on listening to the music. Such mesmerizing is the flute of Krishna. Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute in the town of Mathura, in every house, in every room, in every fold of the heart, not just the heart, in every fold of the heart. The air began to tremble in concord with the flute. Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute. The grasses fell down from chewing mouth of the cows. The fishes came out of water. The peacocks were lost in meditation, so they dropped down their feathers on the Lord. And the cuckoos and the nightingales, tearing off their breasts with their own nails, fell down on the branches of the trees in concord with the flute. Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute. The milkmaids began to weep bitterly in happiness. After some time, like the golden images, they remained motionless. The peacocks were lost in meditation. Now we get an image of the birds, the effect of the flute, the effect of Krishna's music on the birds. First, we had the effect on the heart of the people, the effect on the animals, the effect on the aquatic animals. Now we are going to see the effect on the birds, very much similar to that of the Byzantium poem, where WB8 says, fish, flesh, and fowl. Fish, aquatic animal. Flesh, generally animals or human beings. Animals and human beings. And fowl. Fowl are birds. The creatures in the air, in the water, the creatures in the sky, and the creatures in the land. Similar to that, he talks about human beings, animals, aquatic animals, and now coming to the birds. The peacock were lost in meditation. Why particularly peacocks? Not any other bird. Peacock is also symbolized with, is also remembered in connection with Krishna. Peacock is considered as a bird of knowledge, as a symbol of knowledge and beauty. Beauty because of its long, beautiful, colorful feathers. And it is also associated with knowledge because the feather has an eye-like structure in it. Eye symbolizes observation. Observation symbolizes knowledge. So that knowledge and beauty is associated with Lord Krishna. So the peacocks were lost in meditation. Meditation. They are thoughtful. See, the intelligent bird, the bird which is associated with knowledge and intelligence, itself becomes meditative on listening to the song of Krishna. The peacocks were lost in meditation. They are not just engaged in meditation, they are lost. They have forgot themselves in the song. So they dropped down their feathers on the Lord. The peacocks are dropping their feathers on the Lord as a mark of surrender, as a mark of humiliation, as a mark of um, slaves to the becoming a slave to Krishna's flute. And the cuckoos and the nightingales tearing off their breasts with their own nails. See, the cuckoos and nightingales. Here we see the fusion of Balakrishna Sama. I told you Nepali literature or Indian literature was highly Sanskrit in its flavor. But it was Balakrishna Sama who gave a fusion representation to this Nepali literature. He talks about nightingale when he is talking about Krishna. Nightingale is not a bird which we could see in India, right? It's a bird which is seen in Western countries. See, when he talks about Krishna, an image, a symbol of Indian tradition, a symbol of Indian religion, he brings in a Western identity, a Western symbol, a Western representative like Nightingale. This is where Balakrishna Sama becomes a fusions style representing writer, right? The cuckoos and the nightingales. The cuckoos and the nightingales are much referred in poetry for their songs, mesmerizing songs. I hope you all remember the song of Wordsworth's Solitary Reaper, where he compares the song of the Solitary Reaper to the cuckoo and the nightingale's song. Similarly, he compares the the flute of Krishna to the music of, to the song of cuckoo and nightingale. The birds which are known for the mesmerizing song. These birds are tearing off their breasts with their nails because their songs seem to be nothing before the flute of Krishna. So they tear their breasts off. They feel ashamed before Krishna's flute. They feel humiliated and nothing to dust before the flute of Krishna. So they tear off their breasts with their own nails and they fell down on the branches of the trees in concord with the flute. They fell down from the branches as a symbol of their failure before the flute. Still, Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute. Now we see the effect on the milkmaids. See, the milkmaid began to weep bitterly in happiness. See, they began to weep, cry bitterly in happiness. Happiness. They weep due to happiness, a kind of oxymoron, a kind of paradoxical elements. They started weeping, crying in happiness. See, a kind of fusion. A kind of emotional fusion could be seen in the milkmaids, the gopikas. The milkmaid began to weep bitterly in happiness. After some time, like the golden images, they remained motionless. After some time, after their cry, after a bit of weeping, they stood motionless. They remained motionless. And how did they look? They looked like the golden images, the golden statues. The gopikas were so beautiful, right? Were so beautiful that they look like the golden statues, golden images, right? After some time, like the golden images, they remained motionless. The river of adoration was profusely flowing, and the Krishna began to smile. The whole universe dozed in ecstasy. Heaven and earth kissed each other. The eyelashes of the milkmaid began to be entangled in concord with the flute. Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute. The river of adoration was profusely flowing. The river of that music was flowing without any obstacle, without any stop. The music was spontaneous. It was without any obstacle. It was overflowing, spontaneous overflowing. The river of adoration was profusely flowing, and Krishna began to smile. Now Krishna smiles. Till then, he was just playing on and on with his flute. Now he smiles. The whole universe dozed in ecstasy. Not just the cows, not just the peacocks, not just cuckoos, the nightingales, not just the people of Mathura, not just the milkmaids, but the entire universe is dozing in ecstasy. Dozing is to forget oneself, to feel in the ninth cloud, to feel the ecstasy, to feel the extreme joy and happiness. See, the whole universe is dozing in ecstasy. The ecstasy is created by the song of the music of Krishna. The whole universe dozed in ecstasy. Heaven and earth kissed each other. Heaven and earth are something two opposite, are poles apart. They have forgotten their separation. They have forgotten their apartness. They have forgotten their extremeness, and they have come together in ecstasy. They have forgot all their differences. All the differences have been shattered. They have forgot what actually they are. And heaven and earth kissed each other. It has come together. The eyelashes of the milkmaid began to be entangled in concord with the flute. See, as the milkmaids were dozing, as their eyes were shut, the eyelashes, the hair in their eyes, right? The eyelids, the eyelashes began to entangle. Entangle is uh, uh, to get tangled is to get closely connected or unable to put apart, right? Tangled அப்படின்னா அப்படியே சிக்கு விழுறது அப்படின்னு அர்த்தம், right? They get so close or intertwined with each other that it is very difficult to open their eyes. The eyelashes of the milkmaid began to be entangled in concord with the flute. Krishna played on charmingly juicy flute. Let us once again read the poem. The song. Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute in the town of Mathura, in every house, in every room, in every fold of the heart. The air began to tremble in concord with the flute. Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute. The grasses fell down from the chewing mouth of the cow. The fishes came out of water. The peacocks were lost in meditation, so they dropped down their feathers on the Lord. And the cuckoos and the nightingales, tearing off their breasts with their own nails, fell down on the branches of the trees in concord with the flute. Krishna played on the charmingly juicy flute. The milkmaid began to weep bitterly in happiness. After some time, like the golden images, they remained motionless. The river of adoration was profusely flowing, and Krishna began to smile. The whole universe dozed in ecstasy. Heaven and the earth kissed each other. The eyelashes of the milkmaid began to be entangled in concord with the flute. Krishna played on charmingly juicy flute. So, with this, we come to an end of this session. I hope you have understood the poem. If you have any doubts, you can put your doubts in the comment section or personally WhatsApp me. I shall answer your doubts, clear your doubts as soon as possible. Thank you, Shri.